Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Board of Selectmen, February 12th, 2013 meeting. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Couple of items before we get into the agenda. First of all, I wanted to commend all of the citizens of Carver for their cooperation, their support, their assistance during this difficult time. I also wanted to commend all of our public safety agencies, police, fire, EMS, emergency management. I'm not sure a lot of people understand how difficult it is with all these moving parts and a lot of these people that had to be provided services out there, but our agencies really, really expended themselves and outdid themselves. And in particular, I also want to mention the staff over at the school. We had a lot of folks within that maintenance and food service departments that spent several days over there taking care of a lot of our residents who were displaced. And I think that was absolutely commendable. And it was just nice to see that, I didn't see any woe is me and, people concerned about themselves. I saw everybody pitching in, helping each other out. And I'll tell you, I think that really speaks volumes about the residents of this community. So I take my hat off to all of you. Thank you very much. I understand there's still a certain percentage of people without power. Please bear with us. There are N-Star crews in from Nova Scotia, Oklahoma, Wisconsin. They're working as fast and as hard as they can. And if you need anything, please don't hesitate to call us or stop in and see us, and we'll do whatever we can to try and make life just a little bit easier for you while we get through this. So, and I'm not sure what the forecasts are for Wednesday and Saturday, but I heard that there was a little more snow coming. So just an FYI, if you need to restock, get a new shovel, different things, gas for your generators, for your cars. So a lot of things to think about. The winter's not over yet, despite Puxatawny Phil's forecasts and prognostications. So thank you.
Mr. Chairman, rather than talk about the same thing in Selectmen's notes, can I mention a couple of things?
Absolutely, Dick.
I was visiting, and I know Jack was, and several of us were visiting the shelter at the school, and we visited downstairs with EMS, and it was, all of us need to be proud of our emergency services. Tom Walsh and Ken Morrison downstairs answered calls straight through, patiently, gently, amazing. Fire Chief Weston and Deputy Fire Chief Jermaine transported people, fire department, the same thing. And I won't be able to mention all the names, but if you went to the school, as Mike mentioned, the people there were great with elderly. And the National Guard brought in cots, and they had cots in the library, cots in the gym, cots in classrooms, and they had the gymnastic mats on top of them to make people more comfortable. The food, the people were very appreciative of it. As I went around, I didn't have many, complaints. People, they didn't want to be there, but they were warm. In their homes, they weren't. They were hurting, especially many of the old folks like me. And I have 2 wood stoves. I had to apologize to everybody. But, I didn't have any real complaints, bad complaints or anything like that. Everybody knew it was a snowstorm. It was a big one, the blizzard of 2013, and so we roll with it. But thank you also to Bill Hallinan and the DPW. They were great. Mike Mix, police chief, he was hauling people. Mark Dufely, administrative, and all the officers that were on. And people were doing double shifts, triple shifts. It was a a very, very well done, and we apologize, we thank them for all their work. And thank you.
Could I say something, Mike?
Go ahead, Jim.
Same thing, to reiterate what Dick and Mike said, the cooperation among all the people in those departments, not just the department heads, but the people in the departments. And I got a lot of compliments for the custodial staff, how polite and sincere they were to people. So it's just a great team effort. You know, I read in the newspaper that the National Guard was at a lot of other emergency centers, but we did it, we were all self-sufficient and did it in our town, and it's these people that made the best of it.
I don't want to leave anybody else out. Sarah? Helen?
Ditto.
Ditto? Okay. Yeah. Outstanding job by everybody. Thank you. Okay, moving along. We're going to try and do this at warp speed so we can get through this tonight. The announcements. There are openings on the following committees: Airport Commission, Audit Committee, Carver Cultural Council, Commission on Disability, BDC, Finance Committee, Old Colony Regional Voc Tech School Committee, 2 positions. Local Housing Partnership Committee, Marcus Atwood Trustees, Recreation Committee, ZBA Alternate, Carver Housing Authority State Representative, and a Growers Representative to the Earth Removal Committee. Please contact the Selectman's Office for an application. Reminder to residents also to donate to the food pantry at the Council on Aging or the Public Library. We still have a need, and I suspect the need is probably going to rise even more so with people losing their power and losing all their perishable goods. So please keep that in the back of your mind if you would. Thank you. All right, appointments with possible votes. We have the underground fuel storage tank license application, Tremont Enterprise Corporation, Wayne Rutledge. Mr. Rutledge, would you step up to the microphone, introduce yourself, please? Yeah.
Wayne Rutledge from Tremont Enterprises. This is 2 above-ground storage tanks, ATS, steel storage tanks, and not below ground. And these are for storing number 2 fuel oil as well as off-road diesel fuel. 10,000 gallon each. They'll have 110% containment. And what they're used for is for a load of fuel to come in, we can refuel our own trucks.
Okay.
They won't be for retail. There'll be no dispensing station there or pump or a meter. Strictly for storage.
Anything else we need to know about?
You'll be off the rear of the building about 40 to 60 feet towards the east.
Has the fire department already looked at the plans and approved everything? Or do you need to approve anything?
It's in Lakeville. No, it's Carver, isn't it? Yeah.
Good evening to the board, ladies and gentlemen. At this point, the license process does not require that we have plans submitted to us. The licensing process is a function of the Board of Selectmen. After the license is granted, what will happen is they will come to us with plans and submit those, and then we will review, and if everything falls in compliance with Mass General laws and the Code of Massachusetts regulations, we'll grant the permit, and then they'll start construction.
Okay, sounds a little backwards to me, but
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
okay.
me too.
In effect, all the board is doing is licensing the use of the land, in effect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Correct.
These are the Mass General laws.
And with the caveat that they must meet the approval of the
Correct.
fire department. Okay.
And one of the things we did today is we spoke with the Code of Compliance Division of the Massachusetts Fire Academy, and they reiterated this process, so we made sure we were on the same page. One of the things that they did ask a question, and I did speak with Mr. Rutledge today, is whether or not the tanks, a 10,000 gallon tank, that's a figure they put to it, but the tank technically is either a little under or a little over. That's one of the things that Mr. Rutledge is going to research. If it's a little over, it gets a little more complicated, where the Department of Fire Services gets involved. The plans have to go to them. They have to approve, things like that. If it's a little under, which we hope they are, and normally they are, it's local, it's up to the local authority, which would be us. And then, like I said, the permitting process. These are contained tanks, to my knowledge, with...
Yeah, I have a couple pictures of.
Where are they going to be located, by the way?
To the rear of the building. I have an aerial photograph here.
What building?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Roby's North Carver.
Okay.
It's up there, North Main Street. And the proposed is just off the right rear. And right now, there's some, it's a storage area. There's a couple vehicles and a box trailer that's parked there now.
Is this where Roby's is?
Yes, that's that building.
Yep, you're behind Roby's?
Yeah, about 40 feet off the back. And that's a picture of the, of what the tanks look like. They're only 8 feet high in diameter, so it's nothing that's tall and large, and they're 8 feet in diameter, about 30 feet long. They hold 10,000 gallons,
Okay, where are we?
or thereabouts.
Can you explain why,
Building, you know,
So,
when everyone's looking at what your business is all
back
about?
here.
yeah, that's right, he said,
We do retail on-road diesel fuels from there,
this is the kind.
and we're also in the home heating
using
energy
now?
business as well, selling home heating oil
They're
to
bringing it
homes,
probably in from,
as
So
well as
it-
off-road diesel.
Okay.
ask him.
Yeah. Wayne, what are you using, I'm sorry, through the chair? Wayne, what are you using now for fuel?
Right now, we go to Voltus.
Okay, so this
Dunlap,
is
I'm
gonna-
sorry, Dunlap's, and we purchase it
Dunlap's
somewhere
oil.
else, yeah.
So this is going to be more convenient for you?
It will,
Yeah.
it will,
Okay.
yeah,
Is it gonna lower the prices, Wayne,
drastically.
drastically? For the consumer?
There's nothing any of us in this room can do to lower the prices.
If I may, the project the scope of the
Thank you.
project with the type of tanks that they're installing is a common practice. The Lakeville Ready Mix in South Carver currently has this same type of design, as does SLT Construction off of Marion Drive. And they're above-ground storage tanks. They have secondary containment in a vault, and it is the safest type of application that we have. If these were underground storage tanks, it'd be a different story. We're trying to get everything above ground, and so this is kind of in line with the way things should go.
Okay. Through you, Mr. Chair, one question.
Yes.
Are there any risks to the town that you see?
The containment vessel itself is really the insurance policy for the tank. And again, if there was a rupture, like Mr. Rutledge said, there's 110% containment in there. It's all built into the regulation. They all, the construction of the project will have to follow, like I said, Massachusetts general law and the Code of Massachusetts regulations. So, again, they're common in town. We have quite a few of them.
Okay.
And there are inspectional requirements every few years that they'll have a third-party inspector come out and inspect those vessels. And so, no, not really, no.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. For those of us who don't know, what does 110% containment mean?
So if the vessel was to rupture, it's essentially a tank inside a tank,
Okay,
a tank inside a container. So the inner vessel is smaller than the outer vessel. And so instead of just having 100% containment, which means the outer container could only hold 100% of the volume, it can hold 110%, which leaves that extra, that room for error, which technically there shouldn't be any, but it's just an insurance policy.
okay. And then the only other thing I had is, and I don't know the answer to this question, but you might want to check with the Director of Planning as to whether an aquifer protection special permit is necessary. I don't know that it is, but it's just a question.
Yeah, we dealt with this with one of the EMT places out by the airport a while ago, and I can't remember. I'll check, I'll give you my card and we'll check.
Okay.
SLT would have been within the last 5 years or so it probably would, if you could look back at that project.
I think they did, but I could be wrong.
So we'll approve this with two caveats then?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
How about offloading and loading it? What protections are in place for spills?
Again, it's in the construction. There's type of berming. I forget what it's a diking containment. It's kind of like what you see with regular fueling stations. It's a concrete pad that's grooved to catching of the spillage and things of that sort.
What if there was a big spill?
It just,
Because if I remember correctly, is it up by Roby's or behind Roby's?
Behind Roby's building.
Isn't there wetlands near that, where the ramp goes up to the highway?
I'd probably defer to Sarah on that.
That wetlands was created by the state when they built the highway. They had to move a wetlands, and they recreated one there next to us. This is behind us,
So there's no
going towards-
possibility if you had a spill there that it could go into that wetland?
It's several hundred feet from there.
Or is it?
Several hundred feet, yeah.
Jack, I believe any of the fueling stations in our community run that same risk. That's a risk, that's I guess an accepted risk and at the risk of sounding.
It's just that this seems to be right in the same vicinity.
Sure.
You know, when you drive up, you have all that open water and stuff there.
We're surrounded by wetlands. We can't get away from them. So, Jack, is that it?
That's it.
All right. Do we have a motion and a second?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that
We have a
motion.
motion and a second. Any further discussion, questions, comments by the board? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Elaine, if you could make sure that those two caveats are written into that approval. Should be all set.
Thank you.
Thank you, Art. Yeah. Second one was the wetlands.
Department permit. Bill Fire Department permit.
Thank you, sir. Good luck. Okay. All right, next up is reappointment of Robert S. Barlow as constable. Mr. Barlow in the audience? Okay. How about if we table that and push it out? Okay. A motion to table that?
Move we table that motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion,
Just,
comments, questions?
we made kind of a policy that anytime we're making appointments, we kind of wanted to meet that person, right? Or
Correct.
reappointments.
That's correct.
That's why we're, okay.
If somebody could contact Mr. Barlow and let him know we need his physical presence. Thank you. Okay, appointment to Commission on Disability, Lawrence J. Hemingway. Is Lawrence in the audience?
I don't see him here either.
Okay. Do I have a motion to table that, too?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Carver Cultural Council, Maureen Fuller. I don't see her.
I make a motion to table?
Yeah, it could be.
Motion to
We could-
table. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion, comments, questions? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Shall we read the Carver Cultural Council needs members that she sent? No?
Didn't we, was that in our announcements?
Yeah. Oh, yes, it was. I think
Yeah.
it was, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
We should be good.
Now that you're ahead of schedule,
Yeah.
what are you gonna do with all this?
Boy. Chris Belbin? Christopher, come on up. Sorry to put you through this again, but have a seat over here, please. So you have your sponsor with you. We initially approved this with the stipulation that there was going to be an examination of the property to make sure that there was no issues before you guys went in there. However, I've been assured by the health agent that there are no problems whatsoever with you guys going in and doing a surface cleanup. So what I wanted to do, we rescheduled this so we could vote it under that terminology, and there's no questions by anybody as to the validity of the approval, okay? So, once again, Chris, just tell the audience what you guys plan on doing over there so that,
My plan was to clean up the property at 0 Wade Street. It is, to my understanding and discovery of going through it, that it is covered in trash, a good 80 to 90% of it, because you can't take 10 steps in either direction without seeing at least one piece of trash on the ground. And just walking up, there's an old rusty gate that's growing into trees and hurting the wildlife around it. And when you get past that, you get up to all the rotting construction pallets and pieces of wood that are just sitting on the ground, rotting out. And as you go further in, you discover like more plastic trash, which takes a lot of time to decompose. It takes a long time to decompose those objects in there. And as I went in even further, I found things from computers, monitors, to keyboards, to even more pots, and then a old little tractor trailer type thing which goes on the back of a lawnmower, and a lot of it can be taken out and gotten rid of easily.
Okay. And this is a troop project?
It is a Boy Scout project for my Eagle Scout rank.
Okay. Can I get a motion and a second from the board? And we'll open this.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments, questions?
No, go for it. We need
Sarah,
it.
have anything on it? Okay. Hearing none from my colleagues, it sounds like everybody's supportive of this, Chris. You know, I think it's a worthy project. You're cleaning up the area for the citizens in the town, and, you know, we want to commend you guys for doing that. Of course, you're going to have to wait for the snow to melt now,
Yeah,
so, but.
just adds more rust to be cleaned.
That's all right. Once you got the approval, then you can move forward with it.
Thank you.
So, all right. Hearing no further questions, comments, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. Unanimous. So
Thank
good
you.
luck, okay?
Thank
Keep
you.
us posted what's going on if you need anything, all right?
I will. Thank you.
Thank you, fellas.
Mike, she just walked in. She's way down back.
Maureen, how are you tonight? We know you have an electric watch, so we're gonna give you the benefit of the doubt on this, okay?
No, I have a grandson that didn't get picked up on time. I'm so
Okay.
sorry.
All right. Please identify yourself for all our viewers and tell us why you're here.
I'm Maureen Fuller, and I'm the chairperson of the Carver Cultural Council, and I'm here to lobby for some new members. We currently have, at the end of this 6-month cycle we're in now, we'll be losing 3 members because you can only serve for 6 years. And then 1 year from now, we will lose the remaining 3 members on the Carver Cultural Council. So we will be down to 0. So,
Can we get those names from you, please? Because anybody that served 6 years on anything in Carver, we want to hijack them for another committee.
well,
so-
we're very dedicated. We haven't got the largest budget of any committee in town, probably the smallest, but we work very hard to follow the guidelines from the state for administering state funding and granting money to local organizations and agencies who want to fund cultural events or field trips or artists and residents, these types of things in the town. We try to keep the money spent within the town. That's been our biggest impetus over the last few years. And we do sponsor the annual art show at Old Home Day. And, but it takes bodies, and we've lost several members over the years, you know, because of serving their 6 years, and now we're down to the bare bones. So I would very much like to have people, especially those with school-aged children. Right now, we have 1 member who has children in school, and the rest of us are of a certain age, and we don't have that in our lives. And we would like many more family-aged individuals to be part of this so that we have a better representation on the board, and that we also maybe have a better idea of the best ways to spend the money,
Sure.
get more people interested in applying for the money. We've done a drive through the PTO, the high school. I used to be a substitute teacher there, so I used to try to generate a little bit of interest down at the high school and middle school. But I'm no longer there, and I think we just need to get I mean, it's only $3,800 that we're spending, but let's spend it here in town. And
Sure.
let's make sure that we have townspeople that can, you know, get the right people applying for it in town, so we don't have to grant the money outside of Carver. I mean, there's a lot of agencies down in New Bedford and in Plymouth, the Philharmonic orchestras and the youth orchestras, who like to apply all throughout the region, and they are very worthy causes. But we have made our priority to try to get Carver artists and Carver venues. So I do hope that somebody watching tonight will come in and visit us. We'll be posting the March meeting soon. It'll be either a Tuesday or a Thursday evening. You don't have to meet very much, you don't have to do very much. But it does help to raise, the profile of the artists and the people who do performance art here in the
Sure.
town.
I can understand how difficult it is to get the younger members of the community involved, because a lot of them are tied up in their own lives and activities with children and stuff, and pretty busy. I don't know, just as a suggestion, though, you might want to broaden the search and maybe attend some of the meetings at the villages. See if you can get some of the younger senior citizens that might be
We're all
interested.
seniors right now. Everybody.
Yeah, but there's
No, except for one.
There's varying stages. There's younger ones, there's...
I know, I'm the teenager on the
Sure,
council.
there you go.
I'm the teenager.
But we appreciate what you do.
Yes,
And
so
we'll
we do.
continue to get the word out as best we can.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate your hearing from us this evening, and I will post it on the town website and, our search. I've put posters down in Town Hall here, announcing that we're looking for members, so maybe just get the buzz out there. And I
Hey,
thank you for the time you gave
Don't
me.
run away yet. We may have some questions by the members of the board.
I do, I have one.
Okay, Jack?
Why the 6 years? Is that a state law? or
Yes.
Can we change that somehow? Or
No.
maybe you don't want to serve anymore?
They feel that, maybe not in Carver so much, but in bigger cities, it becomes an administration of a bigger budget, and they don't want to have it to be like a repetitive, like the same board always having the same authority and bringing the same groups into the town or the city. So they set a limit of 6 years consecutive service. And I mean, I could take 1 year off or 2 years off and then reapply, but this is already my second 6-year stint, just so you know. So it's not like I can only have 6 of my life spent in this endeavor. And as you probably, any of you who have lived in Carver know that I have been a culture vulture for many years, trying to get things in the schools and get things going in the town. And I like art and music and performance, and it's really something that I feel would raise everyone's spirits and everyone's awareness and appreciation.
Well, thank you very much.
Anyone else? Yes, Dick.
Comment. We need to appeal to our silent majority in our town. They need to dig down, and they need to say, I need to serve my town somehow. And this is an enjoyable group to be working with. Everybody in this room, I'm just looking around, they have all paid their dues to our town. We need the people, the silent majority out there, to say, hey, I guess it's my turn. And enjoying the culture. It would be enjoyable meetings.
Well, people do respond well to the art show at Old Home Day, and if we had more active participation and membership and a mix of people, we might even have other events that we could sponsor and, just build morale in the town through the arts and that sort of thing, build more commonality and bring people together. I think it's a wonderful opportunity, and I would like to, invite others to do that.
Thank you very much, Maureen.
Well, thank
Any
you all
further
for
questions or comments from the board?
letting me come out and lobby for all of you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Welcome. Did I? Did I pass over Mr. Alongi?
Yes, you've not dealt with that just yet.
Okay, I apologize. Want to come on up? This is a request for a Class II license revision. Why don't you state your name and everything for the audience and tell us what you're doing and what you're looking for.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Carmen Olongi from the Landmark Center here in Carver. In the month of December, I was granted a used car license for 3 vehicles, non-display. Since then, I've gone to apply for a dealer plate, and the RMV does not recognize my permit due to the fact that they do not like the way that the language is written on the permit and the fact that it says non-display. Basically, what they're saying is, how can you have, a used car lot and not have non-display? And, in their minds, it doesn't make sense. It's just the way that it's written. There's nothing wrong with the permit. They suggested that to remove the non-display and put revisions on it. So that way, maybe like 100 feet back, setback from the road, or so on and so forth. It's just the way it's written. Nothing wrong with the permit. I have no intention of displaying cars anywhere near the street. Again, it's just the RMV, that's what they want. So I'm just asking for a quick revision.
Rick,
So-
any background on this, or?
No, we do have other licensees that don't have any cars for display, but usually, I think we have a number that would be like just one car for display, but their intent is really an internet business, so.
Right.
That's basically what we have, so it's essentially what you're, same thing you're talking about.
Exactly, yeah, because like I said, I have no intention of displaying anything. It's just the RMV, they kind of, sensitive on that issue and the way that the permit's written. But I have no intention of displaying anything and just trying to get a quick revision.
So they require that you have three, you could theoretically display three in order to get that license?
Basically what they're saying is that you just can't write down no display. In their mind, it doesn't make sense. It's not practical to them. Non-display would mean that they wouldn't even be there. So they're just, they're just don't like the way it's written. Yeah, exactly. It's just the way it's worded.
Well, I mean, the leverage is in the fact that we approve the permits.
Yes.
So
Exactly.
if Carmen chose to ignore the agreement that we have made with him, it would be within our right
Yeah.
to revoke that
Exactly.
or not approve it next year.
Correct.
So I think that, yes, Jack?
Rick, have you seen this wording, 3 vehicles at a time, not in view of street? Do you agree that we could put that on the license?
I'm sorry, what do you? Yeah, yes, I have, right. And keep in mind, this is actually in a this is not even in a residential zone.
I know
like some
that.
of the others. This is a commercial zone, so, something that is obviously very acceptable in a commercial area, so.
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we revise his license to read that, 3 vehicles at a time, not to be in view of the street.
Excellent.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion, comments, questions by the board? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Good
Excellent.
luck, Carmen. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yep. All right, next up is the planning board. Discussion on department assistant vacancy. And don't everybody jump at once.
Just so you know, Elaine actually had this set up as a joint meeting for the next issue, being the joint appointment. And I, in my wisdom, forgot about that and set the room up
There's a seat over there.
improperly after she had already set it up properly. So I've already apologized to Elaine, so now I'm apologizing to the planning board, so.
Chad, you can grab a
I'm
chair or
admitting I
something.
was wrong. Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, in
All right.
25 words or less, tell us what's going on.
All right, Bruce Mackey, Planning Board Chairman, and I get Will Sinclair, Chad Kavicki here, members of the Planning Board. And we just like to discuss, we'd like to have a secretary for the Planning Board, for yeah. It's been a long week. Oh, yeah.
I'll try my best. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As everybody knows and is aware that our secretary in our office had resigned and quit and has moved on to a full-time position at another job somewhere. That happened quite a while ago. We've been working with the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, Rick, and also with Jack and other departments, trying to see where we can try to work this, either within juggling different positions in the town hall between the secretarial's position and trying to work this into a consolidation of positions or what have you. Everybody is fully aware of the amount of volume that goes through the planning department, whether it's from, just regular planning board issues, BDC issues, North Carver Water District issues, different type of entities that we're working on, bylaws, subcommittees, what have you. All that paperwork thrives through the planning department. It's been trying, to say the least. We've walked this road a couple times within the past 6 years. I don't know what the hesitation is. I'm aware that we've been asked to not fulfill this position. I'm looking for, I guess, input from the chairman of the Board of Selectmen of why this position, where we went out and advertised for this position, why we can't follow through on this process and fulfill this position and give us the people that we need and that we have had to keep moving forward. This department is not the only department in this town hall that is on a shoestring, but there is a great volume that's going through it. This department also has been taking up a lot of slack when it comes to the building department. So I guess I'm looking for direction from you, Mr. Chairman, on maybe why we're asked to stop and what your thoughts are on this and how we can alleviate this problem and make it work. Because I know there's secretarial issues, there's union issues, stuff like that we're dealing with. And every day that goes by, we get further behind. And my worry is that we'll fall into what happened about 10 years ago in the planning department when we juggled between positions and shared secretaries, minutes got lost, different entities never got filed or what have you, and that came back and burnt the planning department, burnt the planning board. We had people come in and say, this was approved, wasn't approved, where's the minutes, legal actions, stuff like that, that we had to come back and try to find the stuff that isn't in this attic. It never got placed, the minutes were never done, because people were strung so thin that it just never worked. It doesn't work. Proof is in the pudding. It did not work. Now, I don't know where you're at with this. I guess we're looking for some clarification, so that way we can move forward as a community, as a board, and be effective. Because right now, we're doing the best we can like everybody else, but we're hurting. So I guess I'm looking for you, Mr. Chairman, on your clarification why you're asking us to stop.
I appreciate your issues and your concerns. Right now, we have a review underway, personnel review being conducted for the town. We're in the middle of getting ready for our budgets. We're dealing with a school building issue and how we're going to fund that. So there's a lot of questions on the table right now. And I apologize if this place is an inordinate burden on the members of the planning board and the director for planning. But, you know, everybody's got to tighten their belt and pick up the slack while we get through this period. You know, it's not to say that you won't get your secretary. It's just that right now everything is under review. Everything is up for grabs right now. Do I have any thoughts from any other members of the board? Questions, comments?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I think my first reaction is I'm just appalled. I don't understand how this is a decision of the chairman of the Board of Selectmen. I frankly don't understand how it's a decision of the selectmen. The money was appropriated by town meeting to fund the position, so it's not as if there's no money. Losing a $13,000 to $15,000 a year position is certainly not going to fund a school. This is just appalling, in my opinion. I don't get it.
Thank you. We appreciate your opinion. Anybody else? Go ahead. Jack?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but do you have a recording secretary for your meetings?
We have a person that has been coming in, filling in, just trying to record our meetings and do the minutes for our meetings. But we have hours of clerical work that goes into our meetings, and days of different projects and different entities that have to go into these meetings, so that way the board is very well prepared for the projects. We're doing the best we can. We're all jumping in, trying to help and trying to get there. The problem is very simple. If we miss a step during a hearing, then not only is there a delay and an applicant that is probably gonna produce taxes for this town and employment opportunities and stuff like that. But now they're out in another 2 weeks because we missed a step, or we forgot a piece of paper, or the piece of paper was there, and with all the other entities that go through this department and have paperwork that go through this department, it's just not, there's just not enough help. Even with us, with the part-time secretary, there just wasn't enough help.
Well,
It
my
is what it
question
is.
to you was, do you have a recording secretary, just devoted to the meetings?
Yep.
No. Mr. Chairman, may I? I have Darlene Whittemore just helping out now, but she has made it very clear to me that this is very temporary. She's not gonna keep
So
doing
you don't have a separately funded
No, the position,
recording secretary
this
position?
position did those duties.
Yes.
That was part of the.
14 hours was part of that.
And believe me, you guys are preaching to the choir, because I had a full-time position cut from my department, and I've asked for a part-time reinstatement, and I don't get anywhere.
I can help. This is a 19-hour position. 5 of the hours are funded by the North Carver Water District, and 14 are funded through the regular budget. So, and right now, I got nothing other than the recording secretary. And the former clerk, who was Kim Meredith, is graciously filling in the 5 hours for the water district, because that absolutely has to happen. They have to pay their bills. People are paying bills, and 5 hours isn't even enough, but she does what she can. And she's made that very clear to me. She can't keep doing this as well. So I've got, and plus I got my intern working 2 hours, and I'm scrambling.
Through you, Mr. Chair, what's the history of having a secretary, Jack, in your office?
Thank you. When I got here 8 years ago, there was a 19-hour position. That continued until about 3 years ago, when my secretary resigned, and we kind of went through this process, and we reduced it to 14 hours. And then when the Water Commission came on, they kicked in 5 hours, so it technically went back up to 19, but not funded from the town for 19.
Hours from North Carver. Okay. Thank you.
I look at the whole thing and I say, for someone to have 19 hours in this department is necessary. I think it's very inefficient for us to require that a professional person be doing the stamp licking and the things that need to happen every day. If we're paying somebody as a professional and we can hire somebody for 19 hours a week for $13 an hour to cover those things, I think it's inefficient and it's a waste of our money. We need to keep a clerical person there in that position.
Hey, Jack? Yep. We don't do stamp licking anymore. We have a thing that's called a postage machine.
It's kind of a figure of speech. At first, I just got through licking stamps and I'm thinking, they were oldies, I had to get rid of them. But anyway, that's my feelings on it.
Well, you do have somebody right now that's helping out. We are going through budgets, and we are going through finishing up the consolidation project. So would it be that harmful to hold off, just to work together, since you do have somebody temporarily until we,
I don't have any,
Excuse me. Sorry, Jack. In my opinion, they could be gone tomorrow. Then what? Bring all the work up to the selectman's office? They're
bring it
stretched,
on.
they're stretched thin too.
Rick's been looking for things to do.
Yeah.
I mean,
Ran
we
out of
can,
stamps.
we can joke about it as much as we want, but in all honesty, we can turn around tomorrow with the actions of the chairman's asking us to do, I think, and they could be gone. And then we're gonna come right back upstairs and ask Rick, now what? And you're just like us, you're part-time just like us. All we're asking what was funded by town meeting, to hold up a town meeting. I commend you on your review of all the boards. We've met with you.
Yep.
You know how thin all the departments are. And I commend you on doing that process. I think it's very well needed. But just to act hastily, I think is wrong. And the town will pay for it. I mean, in the end, we're gonna miss something.
I could,
Is this something even we're voting on? To,
well,
it's just a discussion, correct?
Yes.
We're looking for, in all honesty, we're looking for direction. We were asked by the chairman of the Board of Selectmen to stop, not to go through the review process of the interviews process and move forward on hiring somebody to replace a position that was vacated. We were asked to stop. And I understand what the board's trying to do. But on the other hand, we have to still function and function at the best of our ability and to make it happen.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, something I think didn't get mentioned is through the past couple of years with the new open meeting laws and the new requirements of more specific agendas, and then the expansion of minutes, there's a lot more time and energy involved in preparing committees for meetings to meet these legal documents. And then as follow-up, if you look at some of our minutes now for selectmen's meetings, the tonight's meeting minutes are 9, or the one we're looking at to accept, is 9 pages. So if you have a meeting that takes 2 hours, and you have somebody taking those minutes, it's another extra, double that, 4 hours in preparation of those minutes for the next meeting or for tonight's meeting. So you're talking about when you're dealing with somebody, a clerical person doing that, you're involving a lot more hours than you were 5 years ago. And I had one other thing there, it slipped my mind on that. Anyway, I come back to it.
Hey, Mr. Chair, can I also expand on Helen's question? You know, this is very temporary. These people are more or less doing it as favor. Of course, they're getting paid.
Right.
And Kim used to work for me, and Darlene used to work on the block grant, but no longer. But, you know, they have Kim has a full-time job. She's a single mom now. Darlene has her husband's business she runs. They're expecting some finality here, and I gave them an expectation of that. And I have to say, you know, I've met with Mike on this earlier in December, and I met with you a couple weeks ago, and this is all new to me.
Too.
So, I mean, I don't think it's fair. I think, is it just because my secretary resigned, or if anybody resigned, we're gonna do this? I don't understand. I just don't understand.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Your concerns are duly noted. The board will take that under advisement. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, can I ask what we're supposed to do?
Continue to march, like the rest of us.
Does that mean that we go through the interview process, or we
That
just
means-
stop like you asked us to?
Continue to stop, like I asked you to.
May I interject here? Shouldn't this be a motion of the board or a motion rather than just the chair's
Are
motion?
we taking a vote?
No.
If it's necessary?
Okay. We're not taking a vote. Okay, what's next? Kevin Robinson, appointment to the board?
Yes, Ed Fuller has given the board his resignation. He isn't able to attend any more meetings. He's out of state most of the time now. We're going to miss Ed. So Kevin is the alternate member right now, and we'd like to make him a full-time member. He will have to run for re-election in the spring, but we're here tonight to see if...
Is this a past practice, elevating the,
And we didn't do
Alternate?
this last year, and I thought we should have. I thought, this is the way we should go. But last year, because of politics or whatever you want to call it, didn't happen that way. But we're not here to embarrass Mr. Robinson. He's a neighbor of mine. He's a wonderful man, and I don't want to use him as a pawn in this process.
I know Kevin also. So what are we doing?
I think we should follow the recommendation that's on our agenda. And thank God we finally get back on the right track. We're gonna do the right thing. And the next time it happens, let's do the right thing again. Let's not do what we did last year. Because Ed James was a wonderful man too, and he was embarrassed.
Questions, comments, recommendations from the board?
I make a motion, we approve the appointment of Kevin Robinson as a full member
Kevin
of.
here tonight?
And by the way, Kevin,
I did not recognize you with the beard and the haircut, let me tell you.
and by the way, Kevin, you'll have to run,
I'd like to give the board credit for this, but I did it on my own. I feel as though that, as I've been volunteering.
Why don't you have a seat and
Grab the mic.
identify
Kevin.
yourself to the people at home, because they don't know who you are.
I'm Kevin Robinson, I live at 3 Egypt Road. I have served as a volunteer, as an alternate. This position came up, and when I did accept the opportunity to serve as an alternate, I said I wanted to do it so that I could observe and so that I could present something to the board and be part of my town and offer my services. And what I've learned, I feel as though that I could step into this position and help out right now. And if it be so, I will run for an election when it comes up.
Through you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to abstain from my vote, but I think there should be discussion about speaking to Ed James, because I think what happened to him last year was very unfair, and I think that that this should have happened last year.
yes.
This should have happened last year, and you know it. He hasn't been incognito since October 2012, and you know that. So I think that before you make this decision, you should at least go back to the table and really do some soul searching and maybe contact Ed James again to see if maybe he may be interested, if you're lucky.
Well, we felt if Kevin was made a full-time member, I mean, he is to run for reelection, and if Ed wanted.
Election, he has to run for
Yeah,
election.
to election, yeah.
Not re-election.
Right, and, you know, anybody could run against him, so.
I mean, I know Kevin pretty well, because we have Egypt Road across from my neighborhood, and Kevin's the founder of that. He's the one that built the first house there, and I think he put the road in and subdivided it into lots, and it's a real neat little neighborhood of people there, so I think he has a lot to contribute to this board. And I would like to, I don't want to see any sort of pale cast on him because of what happened last year. But you're right, Helen, you know. Ed James should have moved up just like Kevin has.
Sarah, Dick, any thoughts or comments on this?
The only thing that ran through my head when Helen was talking was, did Ed express any kind of interest to you to continue as the alternate over the past, 6 months, or?
Not that I'm aware of.
Or I should have, no. So, okay.
They're two different issues.
Kevin is the person that's been serving as the alternate, and he's expressed an interest, so I think that kind of explains most of where I would be.
Well, there's no doubt in my mind with a guy
Alternate's a
like,
lot different than moving up. I'm just saying, I think that the planning board should go back and do some soul searching in terms of, Ed James had served for, I don't remember how long, I think it was 2 years, as an alternate, where you don't have any voting rights. And I think that takes a lot more stamina than a few months. Please don't, I'm not, I just think things that should be done fairly,
I was actually unaware of it.
yeah, so.
Helen, I'm hearing you say yes, and I'm seeing Ed say no.
And that's my point, is I don't know what Ed James would say. I'm saying that I think that they should go back and at least discuss the option of at least giving him the courtesy of talking to him. That's all. I have no idea what he would say, because I didn't know this was on the agenda.
well, Helen, this is the right way to do this process. It was the right way last year, but we were outvoted. But Kevin, you know, Kevin's perfect for this position, and I'm sure Ed was last year, but
Right.
this is a whole new year, you know, and
I agree with Helen and I agree with you, Jack. The problem is that this is the correct way to do it, the
Exactly.
appointment. Ed resigned from the position of alternate, correct, Ed? And Kevin assumed that, so I think that we can't hold that against Kevin. We shouldn't hold up the planning board with this. I stated my position on this last year when we dealt with it, and my feelings have not changed. I think what was done was despicable. I think there was no excuse for it, but it's not Kevin's fault. So we have a motion to appoint Kevin. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further comments, questions?
Yes, I do. If I may, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Kevin, for having served and stepping forward.
Appreciated it.
If I could say something generally, did you want to say something? Well, generally, we do this in a joint
It's
joint
Joint
vote
vote.
with the
Yes.
planning board and the selectmen.
Have you called your meeting, Tony?
We haven't
yet?
called a meeting though for you guys, have we? Did
Yes.
you post it?
It was posted. Isn't that what you said, Rick, that it was posted as a joint meeting?
Yes,
Okay.
it is, yes.
So we're good to go. We met all the legal requirements. Okay, planning board, why don't you take your vote?
And it's a vote of total membership.
Yes.
Okay.
Total membership, yeah.
Make a motion to appoint.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, for Kevin Robinson to become a full-time member of the planning board. Those in favor?
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
Those against?
Thought we were all together.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, are we doing a second?
Go ahead, you guys do
Ed, throw
yours. You got 4, you're unanimous, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. All right, Board of Selectmen, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
None. You can abstain, that's right.
Congratulations.
Kevin, congratulations. I'm sorry you're part of this controversy.
I'm just happy to serve my town.
Just keep the good work up, okay?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Kevin.
Okay, Town Building Study Committee, Steve? You get 10 words or less.
You got that little, you got the hourglass that has 10 minutes in it?
Schedule. We're ahead of schedule, right?
You certainly can. Nice to see Mr. Duff, it's been a while.
Welcome
He knows what
back.
town hall is.
Okay, please identify yourselves for our audience and,
Steve Pratt, 16 Weston Street.
Paul Duff, 16 Forest Street.
Really, 16, huh?
and we're missing whom? Roger Shores?
Roger Shores and Dan Ryan out. Dan Ryan's still without power, so I'm
Okay.
assuming that's, and Roger Shores, maybe they're going to be here at 8:20, I don't know.
Okay.
But, we've, through emails and phone calls, the 4 of us, have, said we will come back together again and sort of continue where we were in April of 2011. I would like to forget May of 2011, if I could. Continue the work that we had started with the Town Building Study Committee. We were appointed as an advisory committee by the Board of Selectmen. My understanding is that we were never dissolved, but we want to just make sure that,
Right.
we're dotting all the i's and crossing the t's, and we'll go through to Jean, and, if it's your desire to reappoint us, and, as the 4 of us, we believe Dan Daly has moved from town, where
Yes. he's
he
living
has,
in Hull.
okay. We've reached out to him, and so the 4 of us, as advisory committee, I'm not sure if we need a 5th member, but that's certainly up to the board. It may be best to, maybe appoint, somebody from the Finance Committee or a Board of Selectmen, sort of oversee us, to make sure we don't stray, and that, I think it's important from our perspective, we were created 4 years after the original statement of interest was submitted, and we were basically given 4 months to come up with things. So considering the fact that the statement of interest isn't even gonna get finished until March 1st, I think this is a big step in the right direction, having this discussion before, and giving us that opportunity, to really take a look at things anew.
And we appreciate you guys coming back to the table. Just so everybody understands, the building committee was never dissolved. However, just to make sure that there's no questions legally, we've asked them to come back so that we can reappoint them and not have any problems with the Attorney General or anybody else. We get enough of those, we don't need any more.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Jack?
were the terms of office, did they serve 3-year terms?
No,
or-
they were just appointed. Again, it's an ad hoc committee, so there's no requirement for staggered
Now
terms.
now I'm
of
gonna ask a real tricky
five.
tricky
I mean,
question.
theoretically, you could have us for life, but
We-
we're not
we-
willing,
let me ask
we're
you
not willing to
something.
give the,
Thank you, but.
I would recommend against
Wait a minute,
that,
hold
Mr. Chairman. if-
All right, Steve's not allowed to talk anymore.
Were you sworn in?
everybody sworn in when? Originally?
Yeah.
Yes, we were all sworn in, and we even took the ethics training, and we'll obviously have to take the refresh again. So,
The clock is ticking again. Town meeting is fast approaching. We've got a renewed interest in pushing this school. Now we need somebody to help us cut through the log jam so we can get something done. So,
I just want to say, in the town, I'm a educator. It's my 30th year. I've lived in the town for 26 years. And the town that I serve in never passed an override until the last election, when we failed by just a few votes. The town of Norton passed by 13 votes. And they have a model project going on at the high school where I work, where the state is, our fellow citizens are paying for approximately 2/3 of a model project for the state of Massachusetts. And it is a sight to behold to see an addition, as well as a real step forward and a lot of pride in the town to have a model facility being rehabilitated and added to. And it is my sincere desire to see that kind of thing happen here, because I know it can, working with all the people in the town.
Rick, I'm going to rely on your expert advice here. We have three of the members. We do not have Roger here tonight. And as Dick had mentioned earlier, we prefer to have people in front of us when we do our reappointments.
Exactly.
Can we reappoint the committee in total, or do we need to reappoint the individuals?
Well, keep in mind, that was a board, you didn't vote it as a policy, but that was your own internal, requirement. That wasn't, that's not cast upon you by the state in some fashion. So if it's something you chose to do, that's something the board can choose to do.
How about if we vote the committee, and then vote the 3 members, and we can get Roger in here
You could do that. if you
at another
do
meeting?
that.
That will satisfy
If you-
all of our,
yeah, if that-
Yeah.
So vote to reestablish the committee and then vote
right,
these 3 gentlemen?
these 3 gentlemen in.
Yeah.
Do we need a 5th member? And I'm looking for advice from the board.
Can I make a comment? I remember how much work they put in that short 4 months. I'm not sure how much work the 5th member did. Mr. Daly, was he really involved in depth?
no, I mean, definitely, everybody brought something different to the
Okay.
table. I mean,
So would you be more comfortable if we tried to find someone to add to your committee?
Or do you have a person in mind, perhaps?
We don't, but I think if you take a vote, you know how it works. If you have an odd number
Yeah.
of people on the board, it makes the voting easier. If it's even,
Ad hoc committees are supposed to have unanimous votes, though, Dan.
But by the same
how it
token,
works, okay.
but by the same token, these 4 individuals, including the 5th have all worked together.
Yeah.
And they're running at a certain speed, and they can just jump right in
Jump
and
right
start. Whereas if you bring a brand-new member in, they have to come up to speed, it might slow you down. You guys figure that you can work with 4 of you.
You guys got to
I
hit the
think that
ground
we should
running.
keep it
well,
at
and
4
we're 2
keep
years
on
older
moving.
too, so generally we should be slowed down, right?
I'd rather leave it at the 4. And if you run into problems where you keep coming in 2 to 2 ties, as we do a lot of times, then maybe we'll put the 5th member on there.
You might be mellowing out and softening in the head and
What makes you
Gonna
think Mr.
rewrite-
Shores is gonna wanna come in here?
All right, how about if we reappoint the 3 members that are here?
And you have a
That'd be
lot of-
acceptable?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's in keeping with what's on the agenda. We'll reappoint the 3 members here.
Shouldn't we reestablish?
You guys will have to hijack Roger and get him in here the next board meeting. We'll get him,
We'll try.
okay?
And we're going to put a notice out there for a 5th member?
Member,
Right,
Elaine, if you could add that.
okay.
I'll make a motion to reappoint Paul Duff, Steve Pratt, and Dan Ryan to the
Second.
town
We have a
Building
motion-
Study Committee.
We have a motion and a second. Any further comments, questions, concerns?
I think you changed your mind about reestablishing.
Yeah, because it's not on the agenda.
So to be
Yeah,
specific.
so the committee's still in existence,
Yeah.
really. It's just a
Yes.
reappointment of the members.
I would agree.
It's an ad hoc committee. It
Yeah.
probably didn't even have to get acted on. Until we, we disband you.
And just to be on the safe side, I would see Gene McGillicuddy and
Yep, before we have a meeting.
make sure he gets sworn in so that, okay? You guys can, go right ahead and start with the three of you, and we'll just get Roger in here the next meeting then.
Okay, he's away. He's in New
Yeah,
Hampshire.
so that
Good
works,
for him.
works for everybody then.
Thank you for coming back for
And
more.
thank you for
Yes.
volunteering to get back
Thank
into
you
this.
for willing here to help us, and
We just want to finish it and get what we, we hoped to get in 2011, and get it in 2013.
Okay, thanks, fellas.
Thank
And-
you.
Okay, request for Shirtlift Park for the Boy Scouts on March 21.
Motion to approve.
I'd like to second that with the caveat that the Boy Scout leaders check with the fire department about that little campfire. Paul, you used the mic.
Come on up and identify yourself, use the microphone.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Paula Welch, 32 Priscilla Mullins Way. And I called the fire department this morning, and they said that all I need to do is call them the morning of the event, and as long as they don't have a fire ban, then we can have a small campfire there.
Oh, good, all right, excellent.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much, Paul. All right.
make the motion we approve.
I think we,
Second.
I did.
all right.
Oh,
We have
you did.
two
Second?
motions to approve, one second.
Double emotion.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you. All right, request for road race approval. Paul Crowley, Best Buddies Challenge. This is pretty much an annual event.
Make a motion, okay, go ahead.
We have
You
a
want to-
motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further comments, questions, concerns by the board? This is coordinated with the chief of police, so I don't think there's gonna be an issue with safety or anything of that nature. Yeah. All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Next up is a request for the use of Sherwood Park for the Carver Farmers Market, which is an annual request and event. So, do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments, questions, or concerns? None. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Okay, next up is the draft fiscal 2014 budget for OCRVT. Jack Franny to review. Jack, can you give us a quick?
Yes. The first page shows you, if you look under Carver, it shows our assessment, 845,000. The prior year was 743,000. It's going up $100,000, so what I did was a couple of Wednesdays ago, I happened to stop in because we were short those two members. I figured I'd go to the school committee meeting, and it happened to be the first night of the budget hearing. And all the finance committees for all the towns here, 5, 6 towns, were all in attendance except for our finance committee. And with it going up $100,000, I stayed there and went through the budget process with them, grabbed the book, and I attended the finance committee meeting, and they assigned a member to go down there. It's interesting to look at the budget, if you flip through it. It's a nice budget. I wish, in a way, we had something like this from our school committee, because it lays out all the different line items in the school, and it also gives you 2011 appropriation, what was expended, 2012, what was expended there, 13, all the way through, and you can see it's going up $100,000, but yet all the salary line items, they're giving everyone a 2.5% increase in pay, and I think we're not doing that in our town. And it could be because we're not really paying attention to it. So we really need to get 2 members on the finance committee, on the school committee. I ran into our rep there, Don Williams, real nice guy. I think he's a retired school teacher. And he's there carrying the whole burden. So we really need to make an effort to get our finance committee and our school committee members in place. But if you want to look through, you can look through the budget here. You can see my hen scratching notes on here that I wrote down different things. You can just look at it at your leisure if you want.
Can I ask a couple of questions then?
Sure.
I mean, they said
I'm not
in
an
here-
expert in this, I just picked
Okay,
this up.
but they said they had 4 teachers retiring?
Is that what I got
Something
written in
like-
here?
Yeah.
Yep, 4
And-
teachers.
And they said, now, are they replacing all of those, and are they, it looks like they're adding staff in some places too.
Exactly.
And,
That's
so
why we
what
need a-
what was the response of some of the other town
Well,
finance
they,
committees?
they put the new roof on and they decided that they were gonna fund it over 10 years, which greatly increases your payments. And the lady from Acushnet was pretty upset. She said, we can't even get an extra $100 out of our budget. And we're gonna end up paying an extra $60,000 a year because you're doing 10 years versus 20 years or 30 years, so. And then the follow-up meeting, I didn't have a chance to go to, but I think the finance committee member, Andy Cardarelli, he was appointed to it. But I just wanted to grab this and point it out to Board of Selectmen where we keep reiterating that we need those 2 positions filled and it's
Yeah.
difficult to do.
Well, there's other, this performance contracting that they went through. I thought that was gonna be saving us some money also. Because they used that estimated costs as a baseline for the performance contract, and it was gonna be less than our projected electric rates and gas rates might have been.
And what they're also able to do is called production contributions. Like in the culinary arts or in the automotive, they charge people so they get some revenue in that they're able to offset part of this budget with. Whereas you might not be able to do something like that in our regular school budget, so.
I don't know if I'd
We
be
have 95
opposed to
children
it, but
going down there.
I just thought that it looked a wee bit on the extravagant side compared to what we're doing with our local
I'm glad you
schools.
noticed that, 'cause I did too,
Yeah.
you know.
I
Let's
think
just-
it's imperative that we get somebody involved that's gonna be protecting our interests and watching our interests.
This is only a tentative budget. Scott McCaig and I were on the finance committee, we went to it. And we were able to bring that back down again. They'll work with you, but you need to have attendance there. That's why we need to have those 2 positions filled, and we need the finance committee to go there as well, because they'll bring it back in line. $100,000 is a big bounce for us, and you can look at the different salaries and items there going across and see the increases.
Jack, how about if you get in touch with Mr. Carter and find out if we can get,
He appointed Andy
Did
Cardarelli,
he?
so I'll see what happened there.
anything else on this, Jack?
Well,
When
I
do we
think
have
that-
to approve this for them?
Oh, we don't, this is just a tentative budget. This is the start of it.
Okay,
But we need to get the involvement in it to help bring that back down again.
okay.
I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention because I attended it.
And do you know when their next meeting is?
They're usually posted downstairs.
I
so-
didn't know if you might know at the top of your head. Thank you.
Anything else on that? There are some concerns we need to pay attention to. but, Okay, there's an item on here, discussion on reducing CPA tax from 3% to 1%. Jack was the one that wanted to open the discussion
just-
on this,
yeah.
to set it up. Dick had asked that we postpone anything until Mr. Bentley, who is the head of the
Well,
CPA,
the
comes back.
thing with Mr. Bentley, I figured we could open up the discussion now, have a general discussion, not spend that much on it. I put it here just as a discussion, no votes or anything. But later on, if I request, at least everyone knows what I'm coming up against, in that Mr. Bentley, of course, we're gonna invite him to come here, because we need to have, how we stand in the financial position with the CPC funds. What's in the bank right now, what's coming in, to make those decisions from there. But at least have a general discussion right now among the board members. My idea on this thing here is that, every 5 years, you have a chance to either leave it the same, reduce it, or increase it. And of course, we're at the top level right now, but this isn't to bring any of the stuff in that maybe Bob learned here. This is just to have a discussion among ourselves as far as the taxability on our residents. As tax collector, I get a lot of people coming in complaining about their taxes. Maybe we could give them a little relief by reducing it to 1%. There's other things that you probably could do there, but like I said, I didn't want that discussion tonight, and I didn't listen on there. quite possibly we could have it later on, but for tonight, all I want to do is have a 2-minute discussion, a 3-minute discussion, what our feelings are on
Well,
this thing.
Go ahead.
in light of trying to be proactive with the school and all the other financial burdens that are coming upon us, I think it was a great idea to bring it to the forefront because we have to do something with the school, and this is a possibility to, reduce the taxes there to offset what we know is coming. So I don't think it hurts. I mean, we definitely need Bob Bentley to explain the finances and where the CPA stands at this
And we
point.
can't make a decision without his input,
Exactly.
but that's not what I intended
Right.
for tonight. I just intended to see what people's feelings were
Okay.
on it.
All right, so we know publicly it's on the table, it's open
Yes.
for discussion, it's all part and parcel of taking a look at how we're gonna maybe fund for the school.
Well, not
so to speak,
necessarily.
and-
My
and-
whole thing
Like
is to
an
give
offset.
people a little tax relief. You
Yeah,
might
tax
look at
relief.
it, look at it as maybe it's a possibility of funding for the schools or something.
Well, it's not so much funding, but it's
Yeah.
going to be an offset.
Right,
If
and
we
it'll
re-
be transparent.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly. But may I,
Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I just want to encourage the residents in Carver to contact me or any of us, but you know me in my office hours and my cell phone, 508-280-1375, because I want to hear from the residents on this. We all have our opinions, but I'd like to hear from you as to how you would feel if we went through the process of discussing the CPA being reduced at all. So, this is our town. Thank you.
Having said that, I think what we ought to do is we ought to reschedule this for when Mr. Bentley is available. Come in.
Well, why don't we shoot for our next selectmen's meeting?
Sure.
And that's what I intended to do.
Because
I didn't-
my concern was that they had a meeting in January 31st on all the upgrades on the CPA program that have changed.
Mhm.
So he was at that meeting. So when he should be available for our next selectmen's meeting.
Good.
I would,
See, I didn't want to make it too complicated. I just
No, I
want
don't.
to bring it out,
I don't wanna,
because I'm concerned about all these open meeting law violations we keep getting charged with.
All right.
So I wanted to bring it out there, because all of us might have had the opportunity to talk about it, and I didn't want to have any sort of violation. So now it's on the table. Now we can have him come back, but I'd like to have, I'll put in my request to Rick, because that's not on the agenda, to have Bob Bentley come and speak.
but can't we do that for the next meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could do it in the next one.
All right, thank you. We're gonna move on. Department review update by Helen Marone. Helen, why don't you just tell us in generalities where you are, how far along you
Yeah.
are, and when you expect to be finished?
Yeah, it's been a good time. I've learned a lot. My primary goal was to visit with all the departments, because you can't really make a good recommendation unless you know the ins and outs of the individual departments, and I have to say, everybody in Town Hall works extremely hard. So far, I have met with the assessor, the Board of Health, the Conservation Commission agent, Planning Board, and Veterans agent. And the last ones I need to visit with, and I'm gonna try to accelerate this, so we can offer a recommendation within the budget period time, is the DPW, the Inspection Department, Town Accountant, Treasurer Collector, and then the Town Clerk. And that's really it at this point. But to answer your question, Mike, I would like to have something come together within the budget time process. My next step will be to sit with Rick LaFond and establish my final plan and thoughts, and put, his brains together too, in terms of things that I'm coming up with, and
You're gonna have to
'cause
work.
this isn't me putting something together, this is all of us, so.
Aren't we having the February 23rd?
23rd is the.
So you're gonna have to work pretty fast to come up with
Well-
a plan.
Well, we're hoping that the Saturday, and I have not heard back from Mr. Carter yet, that we're looking at maybe the 23rd as a Saturday budget meeting with the various departments, but
Right.
I don't think that means we need something from you
No.
before then. I'm
No.
no,
But in line with getting through the budget season and
That's
everything
right.
else. And
Exactly.
Prior to town meeting, we need to have this
Exactly,
wrapped up so that we can move on.
for the new year,
People can rest.
exactly.
So, okay, well, thank you, Helen. We appreciate
welcome.
that. Keep up the hard work on that. Schedule a joint appointment with the Board of Assessors for the next meeting to replace Board of Assessors member Karen Bell until the next election. That's unfortunate. Karen's been a longtime contributing member, volunteer to the town, and her contributions will be sorely missed.
Right.
Do they have an alternate, Rick?
No, they
that
don't, and that's another reason for the announcement, is if anybody's interested to let us get something to our office
Okay.
in time for the next meeting. Hopefully before the week from Wednesday or Thursday, when we close the agenda out, anybody that would be interested, if
Right.
get an application to us. And if you need an application, they're online, or you can come to our office and get a paper copy of something to fill out. Certainly, if you have a resume already made, that's fine too, whatever works.
Okay, thank you. Next up is the scheduling of annual and special town meeting. Okay, and I've got a letter from you, Rick, and why don't you go ahead and,
Yes. Well, actually, it's from Elaine.
we know that.
Yeah. Right, and as you know, the last several years, we've been holding our special town meeting in early June, and Elaine has confirmed that the first Monday, June 3rd, the school is available, so we're recommending that we maintain the same schedule for our annual and special town meeting.
Is it only this first Monday, or do you book the first Monday and the first Tuesday? Just in case we go over.
Well, we can work on that. Usually, we either go to the following Monday
Oh,
or
okay.
the Monday, Tuesday, so.
Okay, and we know there's no
We're
conflicts
optimistic.
with the school, there's no other events scheduled, or,
Yes,
yeah.
Do we need to make a motion to set that?
yes,
I make a motion that we schedule a
yeah.
special town meeting, an annual town meeting. I don't know what the date is. First Monday in June.
June 3rd.
June
June 3rd.
3rd.
Do we have a second on that?
I'll second.
Any further comments, questions, or recommendations or concerns? Hearing none. All those in favor of setting the annual town meeting as June 3rd, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Elaine, or Rick, would you make sure that the school is notified so that there is no conflicts like parking?
Cheerleading competitions.
Yeah, cheerleading competitions, weightlifting competitions.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
the school committee member from Old Colony Regional, Don, just walked in. I didn't know if he wanted to say a few words. Would that be okay?
We can give him a couple of minutes, real quick, Don.
I just went over a little bit of what I picked up the other night, so.
I think you using the tentative budget, which,
Yes, and I explained that to him.
as with everything tentative means you work on it.
Exactly. That's why I was,
Into the mic, Don, please.
I was,
It has been worked on more.
you need two more people to help you out.
Well, yes, because I was there Wednesday night, Thursdays, every subcommittee meeting, like I said. The overall budget, there will be a hearing on March 27th. There'll be the public hearing on the budget. I would like to point out a couple of things, though. Carver has 5 more students than last year, at about $8,300 per student. Is $50,000 of your increase just because you have more students. Yes, there were more teachers hired too.
Yep.
One in science, because the state now requires students to pass the science test as part of the MCAS. And with the vocational students, they spend half the time in the voc ed, half the time in the regular classes. So it takes them 4 semesters or over 2 years to finish, like a 1-year course.
Yep.
So that they need to spread out an extra teacher to cover, because it takes them twice as long to finish, 1 class. So they do like a year and they get half a year's credit because they've only been in the regular class half the time.
So does that mean, it says in here, or I think Jack made the
I made a little hand
notation
scratch notes on
that you have 4 teachers retiring?
Right.
Now, did your total numbers?
The total number went up by 2.
Okay,
One
so
is-
you must have added 6.
6.
Well, no, you replaced the 4.
Yeah,
retired.
and then add 2.
You had 2, so it went up by
Okay,
2.
yeah, okay, I get
And
it.
you,
But there's 6 new teachers.
That's not the way we look at it. We look at it
There's
minus
6
4.
yeah,
None of them are
Six
math
new-
teachers.
6 new teachers at the low end and 4 at the high end retired, so you save money usually.
Sometimes though, when you are cutting back, that it's easier to not replace a teacher, you know?
Well,
It's, if you had to, and
Well,
I don't know where you're
They
going.
don't go to
so.
math because there's not a math teacher that retired. They don't
Yep.
go to English because there's an English teacher that retired.
Yep,
You have to replace them.
yep, okay.
They added 2 people. One was in the electronics because there were more students signing up for electronics. And one was in the science because the state now requires they have 3 years of science to graduate. So you have to have a teacher to teach the 3rd year of science for the
Yes.
students to graduate. So that was part of the two
Okay.
new slots.
One thing I'd like to point out is Dawn had a sheet from the Carver school system that shows 208 students. Now, did they include the vocational kids? 208 students going to other schools other than
Right,
Carver Public
33
Schools.
are homeschooled, and there's, between the students at the Cape, the students at Sacred Heart, the students at Holy Family, there's 233 students that people are paying for, all decided to send their kids back because they didn't want to go to another school. You would have 233 more students. Now, Carver also gets the best deal out of the towns.
It looked that way.
Carver's per student cost is $8,493. Acushnet's is $9,058. Rochester's is $10,301. Lakeville is $10,369 per student. Mattapoisett is $13,265 per student. They take 91 students from Freetown on a tuition basis because Freetown does not have a vocational school. They pay $15,482 for each one of their 91 students for $1.4 million. Carver's total assessment was $806,000. It's down to $806. I don't know what the preliminary budget was. That's third. Mattapoisett's is $490. Rochester's is $731. Carver's is $806. Lakeville is $1,078,000. Acushnet's $1,703,000.
So Don, you think we're getting a fair shake?
Yes, you're paying the lowest per student
Yeah.
cost
Okay.
of any
That's
of the
true.
towns.
That's our concerns, just that we're being represented and
Well,
Not
that's,
that,
that's state
I
sets
was
the
gonna
rate.
say, I don't mind that, that's great, but why?
It's like, wait a minute, he's saying that the budget's way up. Well, what the preliminary budget was up, the total budget is up, but you have 5 more students at $8,500.
That makes sense.
You've got
Yep.
95 students, just divide out the rest, and you're paying $641 more per student for the 95 this year than you were last year. So
And how's that compared to a cost per student in the public school system here in town?
I don't have the public
Yeah.
school rate. And again, vocational is completely different to a point.
I know that.
The classroom teachers are on one scale. The voc ed teachers are on different scales because they are electricians, licensed electricians, or they're a machinist. You can get a substitute teacher to teach an English class for a substitute pay. You don't get a substitute machinist to come in for the same pay they're paying the teacher to teach English. Old Colony is the only school in the state represented by the Teamsters Union. The only school. The Teamsters Union is the bargaining agent for Old Colony, which has its intricacies.
But a classroom for vocational is much more expensive to operate than a regular
Well,
classroom.
you're the
Anyway,
restricted
yeah.
machinist. You
Yeah.
can't have 30 kids. You can have 30 kids
So-
in a math class.
A vocational school almost always has
They-
to be more per pupil than than an academic
Right.
high school.
They send out the nursing students, and they have to have a registered nurse for every 10
Yeah.
students that go
Yeah.
off-site. So they have to have, a supervising nurse with the 10 students. So if you have 12 students, you need 2 people because you're over the 10-person limit.
But someone needs to go down and understand the formula, because we get some fairly decent state aid down there for our Carver students.
Well, that's why we're paying the lowest.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
And
they-
years ago, we paid virtually nothing because we had all that equity aid and everything else that
Yeah, we
was pouring in.
we were
here.
not well-liked by the other members of the consortium.
we don't care.
No, we don't care.
No, so the overall budget, it will be, the public hearing is coming. Yes, there is an increase if you factor in the number of students, and then you divide out the difference by 95 students, it is not that big of an increase. You have the lowest per student cost. You could be paying $15,482 like Freetown, because they're not part of the,
Well, when we send our students to Bristol County or Norfolk Agricultural, we pay
Well-
quite an amount on that.
well, you pay whatever those schools
Yeah.
charge.
they were trying to explain there is a new proposal that Bristol Aggie is under the local school committee. They want to take that and put it onto the regional school vocational budgets, which means that however many students you're paying to go to Bristol Aggie, that bill will be sent over to Old Colony, and then it would be split according to the percentage, so that towns like Acushnet will be paying part of the Carver students. It's going to be a big mess if it goes through. It's, they're still working on it, but
So our priority is to find 2 members to join the
Yes.
committee with you.
that would help. I was at.
We're certainly advertising, we're announcing it, short of hijacking somebody.
Well, that's what I said. There are 95 sets of parents, or 95 parents that send students there. You would think.
We'd like to reach out to all those parents who have children going to Old Colony and see if we can get some of you to assist Mr. Williams here in
Or
representing our town.
Yes,
Or
it
even
was.
someone that's already had their kids go through.
No, somebody
you
that's
know.
already had their kids go through. Good point.
But, I would hope, I said there will be a public hearing, there'll be more information. The member from the Finance Committee was there the first time in the 2 years that I've been there.
Oh, so Andy showed up?
Yes,
Yeah.
somebody from Carver was been there, so.
And did you hear that we just set the town meeting for the first Monday in June?
Well, that's part of our problem with the budget, too.
Yeah.
Our budget has to be done 30 days before the town meeting for the first town, because they have to approve it. So it's so far backed up as far as waiting until you can see what you can do, that you can't, because you have to be ready for the first town.
Right.
Which is always whoever comes first.
It's never us.
Makes sense.
Sorry to get
Well, I'm
you
glad
in
you came,
here.
Don.
Sorry to get you, sorry to get you in here there, but you
got
helped
any
a
pajamas?
lot.
I didn't want to have to use that conflict of interest if I got stopped by the policeman and tell him I'm on the school committee and running to the meeting.
Yeah.
I took that ethics course online, too, you know.
Yeah.
Thank you, Don, we appreciate it.
Thanks
Keep
a
up
lot,
the good
Don.
work.
I hope that explains some of it, so
Yes.
it's not
Yes.
as bad as the preliminary, and when you come down to what you're paying for and what you're getting compared to other towns.
Well, I'm kind of hoping we can get it reduced down a lot less than a $100,000 increase.
Well, that's for 95 students, you take out the 5 extra, you're down to,
That,
half that almost.
that makes a huge, that makes a huge difference. Yeah.
And Lakeville went up by 16 students. They don't even want to know what, and it's 16 students that Lakeville pays 10,363 students. Plus, there's 16 students added on to what they had with the normal increase of the overall cost.
This is really good news, though, because I think it's good that the VOTEX is starting to be utilized more. I think that not every kid is college-bound, and
How many college people don't have jobs when they get
that's my point.
$800,000 in student debt and they can't find a job?
Exactly.
An electrician or a plumber
But
or a
Dawn,
mechanic or.
don't a lot of the students from the vocational school actually go to college or a 2-year college
Well,
afterwards?
there's nursing.
It's a high
prog-
percentage.
Right, there's the pre-nursing schools, nursing student, it's not all trade, it's a vocational tech. There's the electronics department, there's the nursing department. It's not trade school like back.
Yeah.
Right.
No, my daughter went there, and I commend it every time. I really think that more parents should emphasize the VOTEX, because, again, it's, not everyone is meant to go to college, so,
Well, Carver had 223 students going there at one time
yeah,
in 1985.
wow,
283, 223, 229, 206.
yeah.
There must have been. The last few years, you've been 96, 95, 99, 84, 90, 95. So you've
Yep.
been up and down a little bit.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Don.
Thank
Okay.
you.
You can go
We'll
back to
work-
the nice, warm and cozy home, I hope.
Just-
We're going to work to get you a couple more colleagues.
Well, like I said, I'll go as many meetings as I can get to, but at
Keep
some
an eye on the agenda so you don't have to jump out of your pajamas again and race down here.
At some point, it's going to be taxation without representation. It's an assessment. You're going to get the bill.
Thank you. Okay, next up, acknowledgement of open meeting law violation allegation and response. Mr. LaFawn.
Yeah, subsequent to the last selectmen's meeting, but prior to this one, and as you know, this was one of those 3-week holdovers, we did get an allegation from Mr. Dewhurst regarding the conduct of the meeting on, give me one moment here. December 18th. Because of the time frame, I had spoken to the chairman and Helen, who were named specifically, and I did respond within the appropriate time frame. I only put it on the agenda just for the sake of acknowledging it as is recommended by the AG's office.
Okay, thank you. No further action required at this time.
Not unless the AG asks or requests or orders anything in particular, so.
Okay. All right, moving along. Approval of minutes, December 18th, 2012. Oh, my God, 9 pages, you said, Dick?
9 pages, yep.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
how many other sets of minutes outstanding other than this? Rick? I didn't hear you.
What about the January, the second one in January? We'll have to get you an email on that exactly.
Just so we can start to get them cleaned up.
Should be just one, right? Or,
Well, January 5th, I emailed to everybody.
Yeah,
yeah,
so.
okay.
I'd have to check and see exactly what you've approved.
Is it January 8th and January 22nd?
Yes, yes.
Everybody was here for this meeting except me, so I am gonna have to,
I know you have.
No, that was only for the executive session.
no, I was absent on the 18th, wasn't I? That's what it says.
No, it says session reconvened at 7:25 with Chairman O'Donnell joining the meeting as Santa Claus. Don't you remember that?
Oh, yeah. Why does it say I was absent, though? in the front?
Santa handed, no, because we had the executive session.
Oh,
You
that's right,
couldn't
that's
be
right.
there.
You started at 6:30 PM, that's right.
We started without you. So
Okay,
now you gotta read it all, Mike.
I'm not reading all this.
I've read through it. I make a motion that we accept the minutes for December 18th.
We have a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any questions, comments, concerns, or recommendations? Is this gonna be the new format from here on out? I mean, we're gonna do a transcript of,
I sure hope not.
You've seen the January 5th ones, that's what mine are like.
Yeah.
No,
In my whispering with Elaine, that the 15th, the January minutes have been drafted. They haven't been accepted yet by the board, though, so hopefully we can get those cleaned up for the next meeting. That's
okay.
up to,
are you gonna email those to us?
absolutely.
I don't see my addendum attached.
Which, can you reference specifically what that was?
I'm sorry, underneath charges or complaints brought against a public officer, I had read my concerns at that, right.
That's fine.
What page is that, Helen?
If
No,
you-
it says addendum 1, so it's not, so.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
great.
required to be part of the file, so,
And mine from October 23rd would have been attached as well, correct?
Elaine can check on that. I mean, it will be part of, we keep all the documentation from each meeting with
Okay, I just wanna make
the
sure.
file.
Thank you.
Are these good to go?
Yeah.
Anybody have any issues? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Unanimous.
Yay.
All right, citizens' participation. You've spoken already, so I'm gonna give Bob his 3 minutes.
The first one is October 23rd meeting minutes.
Okay.
All right. The redevelopment authority was here during that one, and as the secretary, I use your meeting minutes for ours because I can't be writing my meeting minutes, so I use the Board of Selectmen's meeting minutes for it, but I can't do it for the redevelopment authority because you guys haven't done it yet. So if you guys can kind of,
All my minutes are done.
October 23rd?
Yeah, it didn't.
I think it was a hold on it.
What was that?
I
Oh, the
thought we
23rd, there was a hold. I
And then
think we approved them in the
it
meantime.
At the school.
Yeah.
There was a hold for several meetings.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to check on that one
Yeah.
thing. All right, the other two things was on the recording secretary, or assistant vacancy or whatever for the planning board. I had two thoughts here. The first one was an audio recognition program for when boards meet, that they get a little microphone in front of them, and it's hooked up to a computer where they can all talk, and it actually, as you talk, it writes for you. Where you can sit there and have your meeting, it basically picks up. There's certain dialects or whatnot that it doesn't pick up, where you have to kind of play with it, but this is a possibility of.
Would Carverese be one of them?
Could be, all right, but that's a thought that I had.
Okay.
The healthcare doctors use it all the time, all right, that's how they dictate everything, but a possibility of looking into it. The other one is, because you have the open meeting law, and like the planning board, the zoning board, they have a higher degree of information that they need to keep, and probably the conservation too, a higher degree of information that they have to keep pertaining to their subjects, of possibly hiring a full-time secretary to just be an open meeting law secretary for all the boards and committees to take their meeting minutes and make sure they follow the compliance of the open meeting law. And because a lot of these committees don't meet the same time, there could be an opportunity for that. And just a suggestion to put out there. That way you know that everything's being done right. This person's been trained, they know what the law is, they know what's required. Other than that, that's it. You guys did a good job. Thank you for the DPW, the fire department, I have to say. The police department, everyone did a great job during the storm. Made the roads passable, and see them out and about all the time. The fire department manning the stations, and just with the fire department, they do give out, I'm on an email list for them, and they have a really good email that comes out, and the chief and the deputy chief, they keep you apprised of what's going on with the department. And I have to say, that's awesome to see what they do, and they were ready hours before the storm hit. So, and I'm sure the police department, DPW, always, Bill Hallion and his guys do a great job, so.
All of
kudos
that,
to them.
all of that's coordinated through the emergency management.
Yeah.
And they train for that, so.
So I just want to say thank you guys very much for a good job.
Thanks, Bob. All right, Steve. Thank you for reminding him, Rick.
Steve Gratt, 16 Weston. Just to add to all of the thanks to the local folks, I want to add something. I was talking to a crew from North Carolina, Pike Utility, that were in our neighborhood, cutting trees, putting up poles in the rain on Monday. And these guys came all the way up from North Carolina and talked to a couple of them, and they were great guys. And the N-Star supervisors were out inspecting the lines and everything like that. Those are the people that you don't see in front of the TV cameras. Those are the people who are out working. And, I want to really thank them for getting us back, even though I know there's still some folks needing it. The real reason I'm here tonight is I do want to apologize to the board for the January 22nd meeting if I somehow created disunity amongst the school committee and the Board of Selectmen. It was not my intent. My intent was to ask us to do the right things for the school building project, so I really want to just apologize if I did anything to the school committee and the Board of Selectmen created disunity. Now that the non-binding question is behind us, I really want to focus on the statement of interest, and I think that's important from the Town Building Studies Committee's perspective to be able to get that resubmitted, once it's completed in March, and let the boards and the school committee look at the document and make a decision sometime in March to resubmit it, because we need to get back in line. We need to find out what the cost is going to be in order for us to come up with a financial strategy. And I really think that that's an important next step for us, as a town, to show some unity for that. And most importantly, what I want to give you, and this is not necessarily for any discussion, but I want to give you a copy of your meeting minutes from October 26, 2006, where the joint school committee and the Board of Selectmen unanimously voted to submit the initial statement of interest. So I'd like to give you a copy of that. And I'd also like to give you the form of vote that the MSBA requires, you know, so that you can prepare for that when March comes around and have a really good discussion. But I'm really hopeful that, you know, we can do in 2013 what we didn't get done in 2011 and really unify behind a strategy for not only, you know, helping get the school, and we know we got to do debt exclusion. There's just no way around it. So, but we got to figure out how do we do it and minimize that impact to the taxpayers. I think that's the key. And as the chairman said, we got to have a strategy in place before we go back to the voters. That is key, because we can't make the same missteps we did in 2009, 2010. You know, the state won't let us play again if we keep doing it. So anyways, I just give that to you. You know, I'm sure you have copies, but.
I would hope so, yeah.
I hope so, but just as a refresh.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you.
I don't think any offense was taken by anybody,
No.
Steve. It's a passionate issue, so.
I was offended.
Rick was offended, but that's okay. He's used to being offended.
It offends me all the time.
All right, moving along, town administrator notes. This is his opportunity to offend. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Mr. Forrester. That side of the room was so quiet, I didn't anticipate that. Please, sir.
Rod Forrester, 13 Lincoln Circle, Cranberry Village. In view of this past storm, I certainly am more than pleased with the response from the town, but specifically down in our area in Cranberry Village, we had quite an issue with water supply. We lost water on 2 occasions. The first time, I believe, was a day and a half, and the second time, I don't know, it might have been a day. I'm not, you know, right on the nose. But it seems, from what I found out, it had to do with a maintenance issue. And what I'm asking the board, as you folks are the water commissioners for the well, that you would take a better look at making sure the maintenance is done on the generators and so forth, because from what I found out, when we lost power, you know, power went off obviously to the well house. The generator is supposed to automatically kick on so we don't lose water. Well, the generator didn't kick on. So we found out that there was an issue with the tank being empty.
Propane, the fuel? Yeah.
Exactly, and then that became an issue with the company that provided propane, couldn't provide propane because they were out of fuel or out of juice themselves and couldn't fill their truck. And other companies aren't allowed to fill our tank unless they're ordered to. And through the efforts of Mr. Johnson and Mr. Hunter, they made some calls and they got fuel to us, and we finally got water up and running, which I'm very thankful for as a resident, as well as I'm sure all the other 280 odd houses in the village. But I just think maybe if, you know, I'm sure it wasn't intentional, but maybe if they could keep a better eye on the maintenance of of that.
It was probably an oversight, like you said, Rod.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
But it's an unacceptable one.
Well, you know, we all make mistakes, you know, but I mean, maintenance is so important on everything. It's certainly, some of us don't think about it until it's too late, you know. It's like, you know, when it come fall, you make sure your snow blower is gonna run.
Right.
Not in the middle when it's 20 below zero, you know, or you're making sure you take care of your car, you know, so it doesn't break down. And I mean, batteries fail in automobiles usually when it's 0 degrees at the worst possible time. So it's sure just an oversight, and I'm just asking that maybe the board, as the water commissioners, could possibly, you know, keep a better eye on this. That, you know, I'm not chastising the person, certainly, and I'm sure, again, it was an oversight, but I also am overwhelmed with the response of the police department, the fire department, how they responded to people much older than myself in our village, getting them down to the shelter because they didn't have heat. And I saw the fire department coming down through, and we had trees down that are still, certainly, they're cleared out of the roads, but there's a lot of cleanup to do down in our village. But the response was tremendous. As Mr. Ward said, you know, the shelter and what they were doing for people was really great. And I also thank you for that.
Well, thank you.
That's
and
it.
We'll take care of that other issue.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just add a little bit to that. Tom Walsh made sure that when that generator wasn't working, that the DPW went down with the front end loader, cleared out all the trees and cleared a path right to that generator so that NSTAR could get in and check it to make sure if it was their wires or not. There's another example of the cooperation that Dick and I and everyone else observed.
If I could add too, that as the board knows, you contract with the North Carver Water District for the maintenance on that, which is generally excellent. So I think as we go forward, that's certainly one of the things on the checklist, and the debriefing the chairman has suggested that we, after the dust settles, take a look at what went right, what could have gone better.
A lot of things went well.
Right, and for the most part, I think that things went very well, and I think the response by the staff, by the North Carver Water District, by the staff, by Jack Hunter, by Jerry Farquharson down in Florida even, was all very, very good, so.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome, Rod. Thank you. Yes, Don?
I just wanted to reassure Mr. Franny that the payments for the roof and the science lab will be over 20 years.
Good.
They
That
were
will
done-
lower the payments to everyone.
Well, there's a cash flow issue that the towns were worried about it.
And you know, we go through those same issues because I'm the treasurer collector here. And the longer out you go, the higher the interest rate's gonna be, but the lower the payment's gonna be, and that's what you have to do sometimes.
Right, they were worried about the cash flow rather, the cost you more, it's like buying a car, it costs you more over the long run, but it's less per month or less per.
Yeah, so less of a burden on the communities,
So that-
longer time
Right,
period.
Again, at the preliminary budget that was under discussion is one of the options, and it
Yep.
was changed to the 20 years.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, Rick, you're up.
Three things. First, the town clerk has asked me to inform the board that the election schedule for 2013 is such that Saturday, April 27th is the annual town election, and the state primary is on Tuesday, April 30th, with the final state election being June 25th. So you're going to have a lot of voting in a short period of time. So Saturday and then the following Tuesday. Second, I would like to point out that Mr. Walsh has informed me that MEMA has already talked to him about putting together the damage assessment, the costs associated with the storm. We certainly hope that the state will reimburse the communities for a certain percentage of that, as has happened with some past significant storms. That's not a given yet, but we hope that's the case. So obviously, that's going to take up a lot of his time and that of the staff down there. The third issue related to that is that I was informed by Mr. Hallinan that they went over the snow budget by about $5,000, which, quite frankly, I'm actually thrilled with, that we were that close. So, obviously, between last Wednesday and Thursday and today, I was unable to put on the agenda a vote by the board to overexpend the budget. We'll do that on the next agenda, so you can look forward to that. And finally, I'm not going to repeat everything that's been said about our amazing staff that we have here in this town, but when there's no town where our public safety agencies and other town agencies work together better when the chips are down. And I think Carver is as good as you're going to find. No egos, everybody does what they have to do. And I really want to, I really appreciate that, and I know you do too. And I think that's enough.
Thank you. Selectmen notes. Who would like to volunteer to go first? Anyone?
I will.
Dick?
Real quick. I spoke my piece earlier. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Don't forget the flowers and candy.
Dick's always one-upping.
Get off the list. Don't get on the list like I'm on every year. Get off the list. All right, who's next?
Yep. I just want
Get
to,
off one of the lists, at least.
I'm on everybody's list.
I want to thank everybody too. I think everyone knows how all the selectmen feel about the staff within the town, and the out-of-state help that came in. But I also want to thank the residents for hanging in there and being extremely patient as all the repairs came to be. So, and happy Valentine's Day to all.
Thank you. Sarah?
Sure. Just briefly, I wanted to take the opportunity not only to thank the public safety departments, but in particular to point out that on occasion, the DPW gets complaints that the road is not salted enough. And I just want to make it clear that Bill Hallinan does this on purpose. He has come to this board in years past asking the board should he continue his practice of mixing salt with sand. And the reason he does that is to protect our private well water. Once that salt's in there, that's not a good thing. And so he's very aware of that. And other towns maybe use more salt than we do, but I think they do a pretty darn good job. And I personally appreciate the sand.
That's all?
That's it.
Thank you. Jack?
I wanted to acknowledge, and I put it in all your packages, but just to the public, the open meeting law complaint from John Fortia. It concerns the audit committee and,
That was done.
yeah.
That was acknowledged some time ago by the board.
Yeah, but now he's appealed it to the Attorney General, so, and you have pretty thick packet, so I just want to acknowledge that publicly. Regarding the statement of interest, I talked to Liz, the superintendent of schools. She's gonna be working on that. She's been working on it pretty diligently. She's gonna work on it during school vacation and get it completed, and she's gonna run a session or two with the Board of Selectmen or the school committee, whoever selected individuals want to review that statement of interest around the first week of March, and then present it to us for, a vote on it to submit it to the SBA. One other thing is, Monday we closed town hall, and I snuck in here, and who did I meet here but Rick LaFond? He was here all day long, and he was downstairs helping out with the emergency management, so just wanted to give him a little bit of credit for a job well done. I know I don't give you credit too often, but hey.
Well, I got the pleasure of getting the same calls upstairs that Tom got downstairs, so Tom and Ken, who worked about 4 days straight without sleep, so,
Well, we had an issue with the internet not working, and Rick ran around with Ellen Smith from the schools and got it resolved, so.
well, thank you, Jack.
Very good.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Rick. Keep mine brief, too. Again, I just want to commend all the residents out there for being stoic New Englanders that you are. We don't moan and complain, we just do. And keep an eye on your neighbors, your friends, your relatives. Especially during these times, if you don't see somebody for a period of time, we need to do health and welfare checks on them and make sure that they're okay. So just keep up the good work, and the folks in the town here will support you as best they can. And again, as all my colleagues mentioned, in light of everything and the obstacles that had to be dealt with, I thought everybody did a commendable job. And like Rick mentioned, when the dust settles, we're going to sit down and we're going to take a look at it. A lot of things were done well. Some things we can do a little bit better. If anybody has any suggestions, please get them to us. We'll look at everything. Anything that can save a life, protect people from injury, we're certainly open to suggestions on that. Happy Valentine's Day from the entire board to everybody out there. Like we said, don't forget the flowers and the candy. You can get off the list. The list. You don't know the list? You've never been there? All right. Last but not least, I just want to say God bless to all of you out there in the town of Carver. Keep our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines in your thoughts and prayers, please, and God bless America. Thank you and good night.
I get married on Valentine's Day, so
We have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion in 2 seconds. All those in favor, please say aye.